Hi everyone, my name is Amber, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about the books that I meant to read in 2020 but I didn't. So I was actually meant to read quite a few books in 2020 and I didn't get to them, but these are just 7 of the ones that I found on my shelf that I kept saying that I meant to read but I didn't get around to. Also, ignore my hair, it's out of control, I need to get it cut but I can't because I'm in tier 4. Some of the books here are ones that I have already started a while ago and didn't get to. Some are ones that I was meant to read for a project or two and I didn't, and other ones are ones that have appeared on like several TBR videos and I just didn't get to them. The first one I'm going to talk about is The Silence of the Girls, which I borrowed from a friend before lockdown happened, the first one. So this would have been probably in February last year and I still haven't read it, but I'm going to try my best to get to it in February of this year. This is historical fiction. I think it's a retelling of the Battle of Troy. It says here that the Greek queen Helen is kidnapped by the Trojans. The Greeks sail in pursuit, besieging the city of Troy. In the Greek soldiers' camp is another captured queen who is condemned to be bed slave to Achilles, the man who butchered her family, and she becomes a pawn in a menacing game between bored and frustrated warriors. So I'm not sure this is actually about Helen. I think it's actually about the other queen who has been kidnapped by the Greeks. I really enjoy ancient mythology, history, and while I do prefer Roman stories, I do still really enjoy Greek. So I'm looking forward to reading this one sometime very, very soon. Alice, I promise I'll give you your copy back as soon as possible. The next one I want to mention is one that I am in the middle of. I'm currently 130 pages in and I just haven't had the energy or kind of the motivation to read it yet or to carry on with it, and that is The Bands of Mourning by Brandon Sanderson. I was meant to finish this in December and I was reading Words of Radiance and I didn't want to get back into another Cosmo book while I was focusing on that one. So this one is the, I think, 5th Mistborn book. Sorry, no, this will be the 6th, wouldn't it? And then 7 is out in 2022. I'm not loving this new Mistborn era and I find the characters quite annoying compared to the original gang. So I'm not loving this series, but I have heard that good things happen at the end of this one and it gets a bit emotional. I am looking forward to reading it at some point, but I don't know how soon that's going to be. I think I'm going to finish Words of Radiance and Oathbringer first and then maybe get around to this one. Or maybe I should read this one before Oathbringer. I don't really know which order I should do this in. However, I don't really care about the events that happen in this book all that much because I just don't really like the characters and the world building, but I will get to it at some point soon, I hope. The next one is one that I was supposed to read as part of a project but I just didn't get around to it. It's one that I'm very excited for though, so I'm hoping to get to this one at the end of January, maybe beginning of February. I'm just sharing my February TBR with you apparently. That is A Memory Called Empire. The second book is coming out in February, I think, and I know people who have loved this book and it won the Hugo Award, I think, and it's meant to be a really incredible space opera, so I am looking forward to reading it. It has been intimidating me, which is the reason why I didn't get to it any sooner. But I don't think it's actually a very long book. I think the font is actually quite big, so it shouldn't take me long to read at all. This is about someone who works as an ambassador, I believe. Yeah, and she travels to the interstellar capital and is eager to take up her new post. She arrives and she discovers that her predecessor was assassinated or killed or just disappeared and she needs to find out what happened. I'm really looking forward to reading this one, especially because it won the Hugo Award, even though I didn't get around to reading it for the awards project I was going to do. I'm hoping I am going to love this and I am really excited. Next we have another book that has been intimidating me. I really want to get to it but I have heard some not so good things and so it keeps putting me off, and that is Rage of Dragons by Evan Winter. S.A. Chakraborty blurbed this one and she loved it, so I really need to read it because I've heard really good things, but at the same time I've heard that the women in this book aren't portrayed very well. But I think this is kind of like a gladiator-esque fantasy, and like I said earlier, I really enjoy Roman stories. Anything based on ancient Rome is something that I want to read. I think it's also meant to be a revenge story as well. I really enjoy those too. So I'm hoping to read this maybe in March and then also read the second one at the same time, or just after, probably not at the same time. Next we have a book that I got from the library ages ago, and because of the lockdowns and the tier system and the library's closing, it keeps being renewed for me, which I am grateful for because I still haven't read it, and that is Foundry Side by Robert Jackson Bennett. My friend Angela really enjoyed this one and so I picked it up because we were going to do a buddy read and I just completely failed at that because stuff was going on. I have no idea what this is about other than I think one of the characters is an escaped slave. I want to probably read the author's other series first. He also wrote a book called The City of Stairs and then the other 2 books in that trilogy, I'm not sure what it's called, but I'm probably going to read that first and then get to this one, and hopefully I can keep renewing my library loan. I'm really looking forward to reading this. It sounds really good and it is very promising that other people have loved it. The next 2 books are ones that I have had on my TBRs for probably 6 months and I just haven't gotten around to them. The first one I want to mention is the Book of M. I love the sound of this one. So this is kind of a dystopian post-apocalyptic book, I think, and as far as I'm aware, I don't know much about it, but in India a man's shadow disappears, and then that marks the start of some sort of plague and people's memories start disappearing, and I think it is some kind of virus. The main characters are kind of living in the wilderness to try to escape this so that no one else can infect them. At least that's what I'm getting from the blurb. Despite what was happening in 2020, I was actually really enjoying reading apocalyptic stories because I found it very, well, somewhat relatable actually, in a way that I didn't before 2020. I really enjoyed reading about how people were coping with pandemics and plagues and the ends of the world. I just found it quite comforting, I think. So I'm looking forward to reading this one. I really want to get to it soon. So again, this is another one that I'm hoping to read in the first quarter of the year. The next and final book is one that I have mentioned in so many TBRs, like I said. My issue with this one is that I want to either reread the first book or kind of do a quick flick through to make sure that I understand what's going on. Rereading for me, first of all, I need to be really in the mood to reread because I know what's coming. So it's a bit different to my actual reading. So I know what I am in the mood for. And then also I have a lot less time to reread books if I'm reading a lot of new releases, but I'm hoping to reread a lot of books in 2021. And so hopefully I can get to this one quite soon, and that is The Obelisk Gates by N.K. Jemisin. This is the second book in the 5th season of Broken Earth trilogy, and I loved the first book. It broke me. I thought it was fantastic, but I still haven't read this one, partly because I'm intimidated, partly because other people have said this isn't as good as the 5th season, and middle books tend to be a bit iffy with me anyway. And also I really need to reread, or have, like I said, have another flick through the 5th season or read a recap from Recap Tins so that I can refresh my memory and remember what was going on, because I remember the ending of this, I just don't remember how everything is sort of related and connected. So I want to refresh my memory before going into this. I do think I'm going to love this one, but it does kind of make me a bit more hesitant knowing that people didn't love this one as much as they loved the 5th season. So I'm hoping it's going to be good. I mean, I know it's going to be good, but I'm hoping it's going to be great. So here's a bunch of books I meant to read in 2020 and I didn't. I always find these lists quite interesting because I always have so many books I meant to read the previous year and I just didn't get to them. So these are the ones that I picked out that I think I'm going to read soon-ish, because I didn't want to pick out a load of random books that I don't think I'm going to get around to anytime soon. So hopefully by the time the second half of the year rolls around, I will have read all of these. I'm not going to hold myself to that, just in case, I don't know, something else comes up in 2021. Maybe there's going to be another pandemic to like go along with the first. Who knows what is going to happen this year. But I am hoping that I'm going to have time to fit these in, and I'm going to make an actual effort to fit them into my future TBRs. Let me know in the comments below which books you meant to read in 2020 but didn't get around to, and let me know the reason as well. I'd really like to know if it's just because of whatever happened in 2020, or if like your tastes changed, or you thought you had time but you didn't. I'm just very interested to know what the situation was. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'll be back soon with another one. Bye.